Good morning. Welcome to the Tuesday morning BOCC meeting. We can start with the flag salute if you want to join me. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, I'll ask Commissioner Mortensen for a review of the minutes.
I know this will come as a surprise to people, but I reviewed the minutes of the activities last week and I moved to approve those minutes.
We have a motion to approve the minutes. Any comments, corrections? Seeing none. Call for a vote. Those in favor?
Aye.
Also vote aye. Thank you. Run down the consent agenda. We do have Board of Health at 10 o'clock today. Shouldn't be a problem today. We seem to have a pretty short agenda, so we'll see how that goes. On the consent agenda, final cost report for work done on Clamor River Road. This is a replacement project. This is on here because we had to correct the mileage. We had the mileage wrong. I don't remember what we had it, but it's actually 2.35 to 2.39. Agreement, and this is through our treasurer's office with Phoenix Security Group. They use them for courier services for various county departments. It extends the agreement one additional year at a contract increase of 3.1%, a total of $12,902.52 for the year. The following two were bid awards, a bid award to L Rock Industries for aggregate for surface treatment in 2024. It's our surface rock and stuff for this coming year for $319,132.39. And then a bid award to several different places: Gardner Rock, L Rock Industries, Harold Sorensen Trucking, J.H. Stordahl, for purchase of road materials for the period between May 1, 2024 and April 30th, 2025. We use several different places. So if we're working up in Cast Rock, we use a place close to them. If we're down in Woodland, we use a place close to them. So that's why you see several on there. Two pieces of correspondence, both from the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission. One was on a notice dated 4/18/24 regarding an incident report related to project safety on SWIFT number 2. And the other one, also the same date, and notice dated 4/18/24 regarding right abutment seepage modifications feasibility study on SWIFT number 1. And then vouchers for this week in the amount of $3,706,467.87. That's it for consent agenda.
Mr. Chairman, I wanted to point out that item number 3, the bid award to L Rock, is for the chip sealing maintenance projects, and staff announced that they were about doubling the efforts of chip sealing roads around the county with this bid. So it's out of the ordinary.
On that one, Dennis, do you remember? I thought that was a lower price than we paid last year.
It was.
It was, yes.
Yeah, which was surprising.
Yeah.
Lower, how they put it, lower per ton rate, I think is
Yeah.
how they put it.
That's right.
So. And they're a fairly local firm out of Toledo. So that's local.
Ready for a motion?
Sure.
Mr. Chairman, I move we approve today's consent agenda as presented.
We have a motion to approve today's consent. Any questions on it? Seeing no hands, nobody approaching, we'll call for a vote. Those in favor,
Aye.
Aye.
also vote aye. Carolyn, I promised I'd give you 5 minutes today or so.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. I am once again soliciting interested parties to serve on an against committee for a proposition that is appearing on the primary election ballot. This is the annexation of 5 precincts connecting our transportation benefit district from Longview to Lexington. So if anyone is interested in serving, please come to the auditor's office or elections and we will get you signed up. I appreciate it.
Before you go, it might be useful for you to explain that proposition a little bit.
So I know that the board has talked about it publicly and I was trying to be respectful of your time, but you have talked about it. This is 5 precincts: Beacon, Beulah, Sparks, Lexington, and Ponderosa. Those, according to the law, the Transportation Benefit District in Longview needs to be contiguous. So those in Lexington are wanting this service, but in order to provide that, all of the precincts in between must also pay into this annexation fee, the 0.3% sales tax increase to provide this service.
And that actually is an increase.
Absolutely, yes, it would be a new tax for those precincts because they would technically be annexed into this transportation benefit district in which they didn't participate in the past. So it's actually only the voters in these 5 precincts that will be deciding this measure. However, for my interests, seeking people that want to represent an against committee, that can be countywide. New law does not go into effect until January 1st of next year that members would need to reside within the jurisdiction to take part in those committee against.
So, Mr. Chairman, I think we have the time. I could ask more questions. Yeah, so I find it interesting that on the ballot there, you've got variations, combinations all over the map. How do you manage that?
With the districts?
Yeah, so for example, I'm going to come to you someday and say I lost my ballot, and you're going to give me a new ballot. Do you have to print it then, or how do you get? You're gonna? Yeah, I'll stop.
Yeah, our software where we design the ballot is assigned districts and precincts. So the software is smart enough to know that certain districts incorporate designated precincts. So when a measure like this is triggered, it's kind of interesting because this is a new district, right? So we have to create a district in our software to say, hey, we're going to create a ballot issue that includes only the 5 precincts named in this resolution. And so our software creates a ballot style for these particular precincts. So everybody gets a different ballot style, which is why when you receive your ballot, you'll see that included in the barcode. It'll also have your precinct and precinct portion that determines what you can and can't vote on. So when you lose your ballot, you come in and I know exactly which precinct and precinct portion ballot is for you alone. And you only get to vote on the issues that pertain to your particular precinct and portion.
Can you recall a time when an error occurred in all this process?
Well, I can recall a time when there was an error, but I wouldn't call it an error necessarily. Way back in, I want to say 2007, the Port of Woodland changed their internal director district maps and they didn't notify elections in a timely manner. So I remember being on the front page of the Daily News with having to reprint ballots because we weren't notified in time. And we reprinted ballots with those corrections because port districts are like commissioner districts. Their elections are conducted by internal director districts in the primary. So in that primary, I remember appearing on the front page of the Daily News with a headline that said something like ballot error. It was great.
It's also, if I come to you and I want a new ballot, you don't actually print it then. You go to the stock room someplace and pick up the appropriate ballot.
Yeah, we really want our vendor, the printer, to print our ballots because he prints them on a heavier weight paper. They're professional, they're folded so that they don't fold over the top. A seam doesn't end up over the top of a ballot issue. So we print these overs and we keep them in a filing cabinet for each election in case people need a replacement. But inevitably, we do run out and we have to print on-demand ballots almost every election, especially in a presidential year.
And then afterwards, the ballots you didn't use, how do you deal with them?
Those are just considered overs and they're stored with the election materials for the retention period specified in law.
Oh, yeah, I'd be inclined to destroy them so that they couldn't be purloined and, well,
We have
look what
to-
I found.
We have to account for those and we have to store those, even though they're not voted. We have to store those.
I could ask questions all day long, but I don't need to hog up the microphone.
Well, I hope to see some volunteers hit the elections office today. Thank you for the time.
Okay, Carolyn, thank you. Okay. Couple announcements. Let's see what we got. Tomorrow we have no workshop meeting at 2:30. We had no agenda items. We have some bid openings at 1:30 in Public Works, but we don't have a workshop tomorrow, so that's pretty slim. Other than that, it's open for public comment.
A question, I just saw an email from Wasack about a meeting this coming Monday, I think, that conflicts with our normal Monday meeting. Is there a thought on how we're going to handle that?
This haven't seen,
Did you see?
I saw-
It's not the virtual assembly that they always have on Mondays.
No, it's not, that's always at noon. This is at a conflict time. Let me see if I can,
well, they have, the email I saw, they're looking at, because they have a general meeting that's going to be in Yakima, but it's in June and
Oh,
it does conflict with a couple Wednesday meetings.
oh, okay, so I looked at it hastily. It's not this coming Monday.
Right.
And that's because of the changes in bylaw potential.
Yeah.
Got it. Thank you.
Okay. We're open to public comment if you want. Otherwise, it'll be a fairly short meeting. Mr. Dryer, come on up. The green light, bright green light. There'll be a button. There you go.
Okay, I'm here today to offer a tribute to Rick Von Rock. I'm also here to offer a tribute to Arn Mortensen. I also am going to explain the nickname that I have. It's called Sugar Daddy. Rick Von Rock has prostate cancer, has had a stroke, has fallen and broke 2 ribs. He is in assisted living at the end of Broadway. His room is 119. If you're a friend of his, he needs to see you. Rick served our union well. He was a wage delegate for a number of years. He was the AWPPW Vice President for a number of years. He was politically active. He was one of two political mentors I had in union politics. One was Don Harkema, the other was Rick Von Rock. Don Harkema got the Lifetime Award for being a Democrat. Rick should have also got that. Rick was a hard worker. Arn Mortensen tribute. For 5 years, Rick and I were observers of this group. It's at that length of time you develop relationships. You develop relationships of trust because you know each other. As the years went on, I found that I had common experiences with Arn. Arn worked for the Lawrence Livermore Labs, which is a theoretical lab in the near Oakland. I went drinking at the bars in the valley at the same time, and there were young engineers there that were fighting World War III. They would talk theoretically about dropping bombs on Seattle or whatever, this type of thing. Arn and I talked about this. We talked about security clearances, how difficult it was to obtain one. It became a common bond with us.
You know what the Daily News is gonna say? Arn wants to drop an atom bomb on Seattle.
Yes. Well, politics being what it is. Arn is a fan of Bob Sudor. Bob Sudor has a brilliant mind. He was a fish buyer on the Columbia. What many of you may not know, I was on the Columbia on a fish tender for Bumblebee Fish Company. Rob was my foreman at Longview Fiber. And I'll tell you a humorous story about him. You know about Rodney Kangas. Well, anyway, Rodney was over at the millwrights layer and slammed a pole up above them and scared the heck out of them. Well, he knew that the millwrights were coming back, so he put a pail of water up above the door. And when Rob came through, he thought it was the millwrights, and Rob got soaked. And Rob went and chewed the millwrights out because he thought it was all their fault. So I worked on the south end with a crew by the name of Ronnie Fadden was the millwright. Bob Barnes was the millwright. Walt Mace was a pipe fitter. And Rodney Kangas was station 4, the leader, and I was station 6. We were always getting in trouble. Steve was, I think, the one that best handled us. The millwrights took it on themselves there was a foreman candidate, and he would be sleeping in a particular place. Well, he had his buggy outside, and Ron Barnes and Ronnie Fadden took the buggy and put it out in the mill. When it came out, he couldn't find his buggy. So he had to call the foreman and ask, "Where's my buggy?" And so anyway, to make a long story short, he wasn't the foreman candidate anymore. Teresa Purcell is one of my closest friends. I made a comment in here that I thought that Arn was an honorable man. I was running for the E-board, and Teresa, there was a big row because I had said that Arn was an honorable man. And Teresa Purcell was running against me. So I made a speech about being a sugar daddy, telling how much I had paid to the party and whatever. And Teresa says, if Dick is running, I withdraw my nomination. When Teresa was married, I bet you don't know this, but Jeff Wilson was one of the honored guests at the wedding. Teresa has a broad view of politics, but she has that killer instinct. She likes to win. Sugar Daddy, how I got that name. I've given over $30,000 to the Democratic Party over the last 8 years. I'm budgeted for 48,000 in the next 4 years. I gave 5,000 to John Minnie for the fiasco over at Longview City Hall. I sent the check to the appropriate person, and Rosemary Spola got a call. She says, "Who in the hell is Richard Dreyer?" And so Rosemary says, "Well," she says, "Dick works in the background." He says, "He's our sugar daddy." Arn and I share two common bonds. One, we are teachers like Steve Farrell and myself. When you're a journeyman, it is your responsibility to teach your apprentice the trade. You have other classes that you go to, but really the primary responsibility lies on the journeyman. Arn is a teacher. People come in here and Arn has a sophisticated vocabulary. I can't match his. But when there are people that need to understand things, he talks in simple terms and gets across his point. The one thing that I think that Arn and I have together is that we're philosophers. We argue about how many angels can dance on the head of a pin. Well, are they union angels or are they conservative angels? I'm going to close by saying that it's a privilege to know Arn, and it's a privilege to be his friend. Thank you.
I thank you.
Anybody want to follow Dick on that? Okay. We have Board of Health that'll kick up at 10 o'clock in about 35 minutes. And this Tuesday meeting for the BOCC is adjourned. Thank you.